it's a bit of a minefield, I'm aware. So I'd selected out Tozai looking, in my head, what I was looking for was more looking for the body, big head, good broad shoulders, as much as you can in small fish, big
Yeah.
pec fins. But speaking with Lee, we had a different idea of what we would expect to see a Sanke do. So, and just to keep it simple, it was a discussion of whether or not the sumi, heavy sumi that looks quite popping now, on a fish that is like 2 inches long, you know, maybe 10 to 14 cm most. Would a fish like that, would the sumi drop off and come back? Does it stay there? Does it get bigger? Or should you really be looking for one that is mainly white with black speckles that's more Japanese? Is that what you're looking for in a small Tozai to grow on? It's like, and because neither of us really had any sort of agreement, we decided not to take any, because what I didn't want is a pond full of Sakai that a pond full of Sanke that I'd spent good money on that I didn't enjoy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'll tell you the first place or first area you've gone wrong.
Go on.
Is looking too much into it.
Right.
Yeah, that is the mistake that a lot make, because you really can't. With these things, and there's me, the breeders, it doesn't matter who. Sometimes there's a standout fish amongst them that you go, holy shit, that could go the distance. The majority, and this is why we do so many selections, is that because we need to keep reevaluating at every sort of step along the way. So some of the stuff you said is right. 2 different sort of sumi types there, but the heavy sumi stuff can more often than not sort of fall off, especially in Sanke as they start growing. That sort of baby sumi just vanishes and then starts coming through later in life. But yeah, the size of fish you're talking, my primary focus would have been assessing, like you said, the body, assessing the skin quality elements, luster, kiwa, sashi, then bits and bobs, and then just giving it a shot. Because if they tick that, and you kind of half think, yeah, that pattern's quite pleasing, knowing that sumi can recede, and more often than not in them young fish is going to recede, because that's what kind of that Sakai lineage is more likely to. Yeah. If you flipped that and went more to an Izamiya Sanke, this is where your bloodline stuff can come in handy. Izamiya was built off the back of Jinbei Sanke, from what I can remember. The Jinbei had this massive, big domineering blocks of sumi, which is more like Showa. And that stuff tended not to budge. Or if it was there young, it would just multiply and get bigger. Whereas more in the Sakai stuff, and NND Sanke, we see this. It starts growing, it falls off, and then it comes back in its sort of like its real form from this side onwards. But yeah, fish that size, buddy, when I'm selecting, I'm just literally looking around the edges, because you can't be that rigorous.
When I the thing is, we have to be quite particular, because obviously we can't put 500 pieces in the back of a car.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? So, you know, when you're lucky enough to be able to select through 500, although it's like the first pick, which is nice because you get to choose what you want. It's like not many people get that opportunity, so I was like eternally grateful for that. It was a great experience. It's like, wow, which way do you go now?
Yeah,
you know, it's like spoilt for choice. So
even then, if it's still thought, you just can't look too much into it. Because the looking too much into it, you're then subconsciously starting to massively evaluate the pattern elements too much.
Yeah.
And it's at that point that you're missing the important stuff. Yeah. So that's, and it's a hard one, because you have to unwind what's so natural to your eye to do. You know, you draw and tune into that stuff, but it's really understanding them qualities and just going with that and seeing what comes, because that quality, you know, I think, again, when you're doing it with the young ones, it's more important to learn about Benny stability. So assessing Benny to know how much stability it might have as it grows, for example, because in them young fish, you can get ones where it's quite blatant that as it grows, the colour's just going to fall apart. Yeah,
I've got one like that I've had, you know, started to see the Benny just disappear, to be honest.
You're always going to get it, no matter how much, you know, I still get it, you know, but the trick is trying to narrow it down as much as possible, you know, to reduce the percentage down. That's what it's all about. But yeah, honestly, it takes time, but it's really hard to strip it all back and not get drawn into that pattern element stuff too much. But that's why it can be handy as well. I don't know how you did it, but it can be handy to do a couple of selections. So I was selecting.
We did do that. We flicked through. Well, that one looks good, and then sifted through what we picked out, if you know what I mean.
So this last trip, I was lucky enough to be able to select Tosai at Momotaro, which I was quite excited to do. It had been a while. And but that was a pond that must have had, crikey, 1,000 fish in it, maybe more. And I'm aware, you know, speed's important, because I've got a member of staff there netting the fish up. They've got all these fish in a net being lifted and done. So I want to get through them and get them fish back in as quickly as possible. So my quick thing, first of all, is bang, 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 body. It's just a quick that one, and then reevaluate what I've got in my bowl in a little bit more detail at that point, so all the rest of the fish can get back in the pond. But yeah, that's what it's. I think that the biggest trick from where you're at is to not look too hard.
Okay.
At that size, right? Because you can't. It's sort of like that sort of 12 to 15 up to maybe 20 to 25 cm. That initial jump where so much is going to happen. So if you're at the point of buying them bigger, say 20 to 25 cm, not a problem at all to spend a bit more time scrutinizing and looking, because a lot's already happened at that point. But these small ones, if I went too much into it, you'd probably end up missing the good fish as well, because that's the interesting point. You say the ones then, the Sankes that don't have the sumi, they're the ones that really get people, you know, and that's just understanding what's going on. But again, what I would do in that case every time, if that's the case and I know there's Sanke where the sumi is not there yet, I just again evaluate body, skin, where that belly pattern's at, and then if I'm happy with all that, I keep it. Because you don't know what's going to happen. It needs time, and if you don't give it the time, you're potentially giving something away that can be really good in future.